In this module, we're going to talk about measuring your room. Why? Because your room size is going to depend on what kind of records come out of your room, whether they're good records, bad records, small records, or larger than life records. And how do we talk about all that without talking about low end, right? Because the reason we need a big room is because low end they're big, massive sound waves. You know, think about 20 hertz. That is a huge sound wave. It's a huge frequency that could be much bigger than your room, right? So how do we deal with that? How do we deal with 40 hertz that's still bigger than your room? We have to talk about that. The first thing I want to introduce you to is a tool that I think is very, very important to measuring your room. I'm going to give you a few. I'm going to give you a free version. I'm going to give you the paid version. I'm going to give you the more paid version and the expert version of measuring your room and dialing in your room and some correction, EQ software, all that kind of stuff. But before we talk about any of that, we have to talk about measuring and figuring out where your problems are. One of the biggest quotes you're going to hear in any space, it doesn't matter if you're professional in any space, expert level, business, you're a mixing engineer, producer, rapper, songwriter. The biggest thing you're going to learn is you cannot change or fix what you have not measured. The biggest mistake people are making right now in their rooms, their bedrooms, their studios, project studios, is they're just throwing traps up. They're throwing bass traps up. They're throwing broadband absorption up. They're throwing foam up from Oralex. They're just hitting the corners and just putting stuff in the corners and putting stuff on the walls, and they don't know why. And we really don't want you to do that because you paid for this whole program, and this program is dedicated to saving you money, saving you time, and making sure you don't make the same mistakes that most people are making, which obviously you're smart enough to get into this program. So that's a bonus for you. Bonus one. Ding, ding. All right, so the first piece of software that you're gonna need to shoot your room and figure out your room, first of all, you could go right onto Google, measure your room first, get the height, ceiling to floor, get the width of your room. If it has multiple widths, that's fine. Just get those different widths together and kind of just average the widths, and then the length of the room, right? And you wanna find those calculations, and then you wanna put it into, just type into Google, room mode, MODE calculator, okay? And within this program, what this is gonna do for you is it's gonna show you the modes, the ringing that's gonna be happening within your room. To break down what that is really quickly and really simply is when you have a big 2-liter bottle of Coke and you start drinking some of it down and it's halfway full and you blow on that top lid and it goes, hoo, 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 hoo. Whatever that is, that's the resonant frequency. It's a ringing that happens within any structure. Your room is no different, right? It has walls. If you listen to the other module, it is airtight, it is sealed. The sound is in this room and it's humming, it's buzzing, right? And only certain frequencies are gonna hum and buzz. And that's what that calculator is gonna do. It's gonna say, hey, based on science and mathematics, because it's pretty simple, we can do this, we're gonna crunch the numbers and figure out your bottle and where those resonant frequencies are gonna happen. Oh, it's gonna happen at 111 hertz, it's gonna happen at 222 hertz, it's gonna happen at 800 hertz, right? And so on and so forth. And once you get that room calculated and you get those modes calculated, you can then understand, I need to trap up a lot more 111 hertz, right? And we'll get into how you find where that's resonating in the room and what kind of traps and material you need to put in those spots to absorb more of that frequency and that ringing. But the first thing you need to know is, what's ringing? What's the problem? How are you going to fix something you don't know about? Maybe you're not an engineer. Maybe you're just getting into engineering. Maybe you're just, a producer, a beat maker, or rapper, or singer, and you just want a good sounding record. You want like clear audio so you can put a mic in the middle of the room and just rap into it or sing into it and get just a really great, nice recording. You need to know what the problems are in the room. You need to even out and balance out the room, right? You don't want too much of anything, but you also don't want too little of anything. So as you start throwing panels everywhere, oh, I'm gonna make a studio. Someone told me get on GIK Acoustics, get some Oralex, and you just start putting things in all these different spots, you might actually be absorbing too much of a frequency. And then what do? You go to the speakers, you go to the EQ and the plugins you got, and you start adding 200 hertz in because you're sucking up so much 200 hertz in your room that it's down 4 dB. So in everything that you mix or comes out of your studio, it is peaking out like crazy 4 dB or more of 200 hertz, right? Because you keep adding that in because you're missing that. You're not hearing that. So what we're trying to do is make your room as neutral as possible and make sure that you make your mix moves and your production and recording moves based on a room that's neutral, speakers that are as neutral as possible, and your ears, right? So when you hear something that sounds weird, you reach the EQ and you cut it out, you're actually cutting it out. And that's what translation's all about with records, with songs, when it goes to Spotify, when it goes to your car, when it plays off your speakers on your phone or your laptop. People need to know this sounds good everywhere, and that's what you intended to do. Because you're a professional, and that's why you got this program. I just always want to congratulate you on that, because I know, like, oh, 20 bucks, 30 bucks, 40 bucks, not that big of a deal, but it is a big deal because a lot of people won't ever invest 20, 30, $40 in their education. And that's sad. A lot of people won't even get to this module, but you did. So now I'm gonna give you some game because you just got this deep into this module. So there's a couple things. Room calculator, room mode calculator. First, you're gonna measure your room. You're going to get those room modes. You're gonna figure out what are the problems. 111, it'll tell you, it'll spit it out. Here's the frequencies that are gonna ring in that room, right? It's gonna know right away. The second thing you're gonna do, you can also shoot your room. There's a free software called REW, okay? And you're just gonna go online, you're gonna Google that, REW, okay? That's some more free game, free software, open source. And if you get a measurement microphone, which I highly recommend you just pick up a Beyer Dynamics, or you pick up just a very, very, very cheap one. I know Behringer makes one, right? And it's like 50 bucks, something like that, right? And that works just as well because it's just a small omnidirectional microphone, which you're gonna plug into your interface and you're gonna run through the REW software. That's the free version of what I'm talking about. And you're gonna shoot the room in the listening position, follow the directions on the screen. It might ask you to move the mic around, etc. And then your second thing, if you want to buy into something a little bit more expensive that works a little bit better, you can use the Fuzz Measure Pro software. For PC users, Smart. That is some software that is very, very professional. A lot of acousticians that come through and tune rooms, they're gonna use that software. There's just a lot of different features to it. Waterfall displays showing you how long the modal ringing is happening. So when you do understand that you have 111 hertz ringing, it'll show you, whoa, that's ringing for like 3 seconds. That's bad news, right? Because you're gonna hear that a lot longer and sustained, which is gonna make you wanna reach for that EQ and carve it out of everything. But really you're just destroying your records, okay? And then the next one, and one I do highly recommend, is the SonarWorks program, which is they also sell microphones, measurement microphone packages, also tuning for headphones, which is always cool. But you can tune the room as well. So it'll actually correct the room. But I do not recommend, and I repeat, I do not recommend you use any sort of room correction software before you take the steps outlined in this program and through these modules, okay? Because you are gonna be yourself. Bleep that out, okay, Will, so it'll be funnier. You're gonna be yourself right in the, you know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you're gonna be sitting there going, I'm a room tune EQ, pop it through the SonarWorks, it sounds great. No. You cannot actually tune out with EQ a modal ringing problem in your room. And that's why I wanna make sure that you follow these directions, okay? You're gonna measure your room right now. I want you to get on it. That's your assignment today. Maybe for the next hour. I don't know how long it's gonna take you to measure your room, but get that tape measure that room, get on the internet, room mode calculator, figure out your modes, figure out the dimensions, get that free software, REW. If you got a little buckage to spend, get that Smart, get the Fuzz Measure Pro, or get the SonarWorks, okay? Now you got everything you need. You need to see it all mapped out. You need to understand what you're dealing with, what's going on in your room. And then meet me in the next module, because I'm gonna get really sweaty.